So, let's get this session underway. So the last video that I did, I wanted to do some different stuff with the audio and it didn't quite work. So I delayed putting out a video last week because of some technical errors, and hopefully it's all sorted now. So a few questions were asked after my last video, which is good to see. I just want to show a bit more on my guitar, my gear, my guitar and bass, just as people are interested, because they are nice bits of kit. And then I'll get into the recording and just catching an idea down and turning it into a bit of a track, a bit of a rough and ready thing to think, do I want to take this into something else? So I won't feature on some of the bits as much as I did last time, but I'll go into a bit more on some of the gear and some of the tone stuff I was doing. And in particular, on this track, I'm going to start with the rhythmical idea on the drums. And I'm not gonna start with the guitar and bass like I maybe normally would, and maybe as a guitarist I normally would, but other musicians probably start with whatever instrument they play. So I'm going to start with the drums. But before I do that, I'll just quickly grab my instruments and just show what it is I'm using. So these are already tuned in, ready to go. So hopefully this will come across okay in the video. So this particular guitar I've got is a Jackson Warrior Kelly. It's a baritone. I did show it last time, but I just want to give another minute for it just to show what it looks like. It is a pretty good guitar. It's a 6-string still, but I've got it tuned into G, and last time G standard. Last time I had it G flat, but this time it's in G standard. And the reason I did that is because it was tuned so low. Even though I think I've got a 104 on the top string, the tension was really, really low, and it was getting difficult to play rhythmic, chuggy triplet stuff on it. So I've tuned it up a notch. But that's the guitar. Lovely bit of lovely guitar. I think it's probably one of my favourites. I've got a few Ibanez as well, and a PRS SC Mark Holcomb. But I think this one, the shape and all the rest of it, it's a good guitar, damn good guitar. So the bass that I'm using is this. This was a gift from my son, and it's a Dingwall Combustion 5-string. It's a multi-scale. You can see the frets angled at the bottom there. This is the only bass I have now. I've got about 5 or 6 guitars, but this is the only bass I use, own, or play, and it is just an amazing instrument. Because of the extended scale and it's a 5-string, I can do everything I need to. But with electric guitars, you tend to want to mess around and play with different types, but this does a lot, and it's an absolute beast of a bass. So what we'll do now is we're going to get this idea done. So I've got a template loaded up, but no, nothing recorded yet, just a template as to what we're going to do. So I'm going to have 3 sections I want to get down, and I'm going to start with an intro type thing, but it is going to be drum heavy. So on the drums, I've got this slow, kind of big, echoey, and a big snare thing going on. That's kind of the idea that I want, that it's going to speed up, and then at the end we're going to have some chugs. So these are 3 sections, and all these 3 sections alone might themselves be just the intro before we go into something. But I've got an idea, and like you watching, I'm going to get it down. Maybe it'll come to nothing. Maybe it'll be one of the hundreds of tracks that we have in our Studio One files, or whatever program you use. But hopefully we might develop into something else. So I'm just going to get straight into the track. So I've got the drums armed there. I'm going to get our metronome on again. But before I start recording, let me show you quickly what drums we're using. So I'm using Superior Drummer 3, and the particular drum kit I've got is the Progressive Foundry. I might have to throw my glasses on. I brought them last time. I didn't actually wear them. So Progressive Foundry, I'm using a preset called Aggro, and all I've done, other than that, it is the stock. It is the stock kit, but it is really good. And what I've done is put in a compressor on it already, so it sounds a bit meatier. So if I show you it without it, it just allows me to, when I'm recording, get a bit more of the feel for it. So this is the drum without it, with a compressor. And I turn this off, and it just doesn't quite sound the same. If I was to do something like some sort of kick action like that, and I'll turn it back on, and you'll get the idea. It sounds a lot better to play with, and a bit more how you expect it in the room to get the feel for it. So just know that I've got a compressor on the background, but it's the Progressive Foundry kit. So I'm going to get this idea down. So it's kind of like a... that kind of thing. I'm going to record that for the couple of bars I've got marked there. Let's get that done. Okay, I think I've left it a bar short there, so we need one more bar. Let's do that. And I'd imagine everything else I've put on my template is slightly off as well. So let's just push them all right. You know, I'm doing this not live, but this is exactly as I'm doing it, so people make errors, you know. Let's try and get that again. Okay, so we've got the drum basic rhythm down there. So what I'm going to do is highlight everything. Let's get rid of this. In fact, let's leave that on the screen. I'm going to highlight everything. I'm going to quantize everything. 100%. I know shock, horror. Watch the notes move. There we go. So they're going to move a little because I'm playing it in line, and you know it's roughly right. But with Studio One and Superior Drummer has a humanized function built into it anyway. So even though you snap to grid, you will get like not one hit sounds the same. There's always slight nuances, and the timing itself is slightly variable as well. So you should snap to grid, particularly if you're going for drums first, because if you're going to record guitar afterwards, you don't want to be recording it to a sloppy drum track, because then the guitars will be sloppy, then you have to re-record the drums, and you'll go around in a loop, and it's just senseless. So if you want to add any more humanizing afterwards, certainly with velocity I would do, but if you look at the track there, the velocity is how loud the notes are, and you can see if you program it in with a mouse, for example, it will generally click all the notes to whatever your default setting is, maybe 80% of 100, obviously. So when I play it by hand, you get the slight nuances in playing, and often that is enough to make it sound more human than someone who was to just play it or click it in. So I go to a keyboard. Okay, so that's the reason I use a keyboard. So you can see the velocities in all these sections are generally varied, so it doesn't sound like a machine or a trigger set. Okay, so we've got that. What I'm going to do now is add some cymbals on top. Okay, we're just going to make it sound a bit more what we want. So I'm going to kind of do it on the offbeat, I think. Okay, I will go back and quantize it in a minute, and now I'm going to get some cymbals. So what I do, cymbal-wise, is you can see on the Superior Drummer, the interface, you can see the kit is I'm hitting cymbals on the different edges of the kit, and I deliberately do that because if you're listening on headphones or a speaker system, or just in general how you would hear a kit in a room, it isn't all going to be straight through the center, so it adds a bit more liveliness to it. So I'm going to hit the cymbals on different edges of the kit, and that's a deliberate effort. That. So let me go back in and quantize all these bits. So we go in. I'm not going to spend too much time on any of this because this is us getting an idea down. You can get drawn into mixing and tweaking and layering and all this kind of stuff way too much, and you're losing sight of the moment of what you want to do. So this is the drum track as it is. Okay, that sounds cool enough to me. I've got in my head the idea that you'll hear me get down guitar-wise in a minute, but that's going to go into something. So it's going to go into, and I've got an idea of what I want it to sound like. So it's nice and slow. Then I want it's going to come in and speed up. So we've got the intro. There's going to be loads of reverb, loads of layers, loads of stuff going on, maybe some synth, and then I want it to come in like a. Something like that, and then going to put some layers on it with the cymbals and everything else as well. So track's armed, let's just get onto it. And metronome, because I want to record it reasonably solid. Let's go. Okay, I will quantize that one again. So we go into it and quickly make sure everything lines up. Let's get some cymbals done, and again, let's quick listen to see what we want. Yeah, I'm feeling cymbals on the beat, kind of a let's just see how that goes. Again, just rough and ready. Let's get the guitar. The guitar's in the head, isn't it? Let's get the drums up and just record those, just so we can see what's going on screen. Okay, I'll probably add some more cymbals in a sec, but let's just quickly, again, quantize that. Let's get it done. What you can do is just let it overplay, and as it's going round, you can see the loop. You can just keep adding your layers on top, but once you've committed to 2 or 3 loops and you get it wrong, you've got to start again. So I'll stop, I'll quickly save it, and just make sure out of habit, so that if I don't like the next layer, I can undo it. A little tip maybe, but no, you don't have to do that. So let's have a listen. I don't think we need to do any more cymbal wise. I think there's enough action going on. So we've got the intro piece, a nice and slow bit there. Okay, I think that sounds all right. Let's make sure we've got the next section ready to go. And so let's count the bars in case I messes up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool, 8 bars. Right, so what I want is some chugs. So something like that. Just to add some meat and bones. And then before we go into adding guitar and bass, so we've got a minute or so to play into and get a feel. I'm doing all the drums first in these sections because I know how I want it to sound. It'll be easy to just improvise and play on top rather than do section of drums, section of guitar, section of bass, go back, section of drums. It's really disjointed. I'll be picking up instruments and sitting down. So let's get these kind of chugs in. Let's get them done. Okay, let's quickly, again, same process, quantize, get them through, because we're going to record in guitar again. We want it nice and snappy. There's some slower parts, so it goes do-do-do-do, do-do-do, and then it goes do-do-do-do-do. I'm going to get the snare, he says he's going to get the cymbals going across both sides of the kit. So this is going to be predominantly cymbals, because when you're chugging with guitars, you want the space. So ready? Okay, I started off slightly different there, but it doesn't matter. We want to get guitar and stuff down in the middle because I've got this idea in my head, and we're going to lose it if we're not careful. So okay, so at the start, it looks like I started slightly off. Let's do that again. Okay, right, I'm not happy with that, but this is how it is. Let's just go around again quickly, get the drums down, and then we'll be on to guitar. Okay, we'll go straight to cymbals, because I know what's coming next. Get these ones ready. Again, let me show you on Superior Drummer where they are, so you can see that I'm deliberately going for both sides of the kit, because once we get the guitars and everything panned out, we're going to want it some space. Okay, let me quickly quantize that. And I think we're good to pick up the guitar. So from one section to the next, let's have a listen. Get that metronome off. We're not going to need the metronome anymore, really. Okay. Okay, so let me listen to that section. I think the idea I had in my head. Let's have a listen to these drums again quickly, and let's pick up that guitar. Okay, so before we start recording, I'm going to get it to pre-count the first section. It'll be pre-roll afterwards. So let's get the guitar. Drums are done. Let's pick the guitar up, and we'll start with electric again, just because I'm an electric guitar player. I play a bit of bass as well, only because you know, I don't know enough people around that play metal and whatnot. But if anyone's interested in collabing, yeah, let's have a discussion. So let's get this guitar in. So already tuned in, good to go. So I can get rid of my drum kit here, which is my keyboard. So let's make sure I don't hit the dog. Yeah, dog's fine. Right, so let's pull up the ToneMaster Pro and I'll show you what I've got going on tone-wise, and then we'll get those bits recorded. So ToneMaster Pro, I've gone through a couple of bits of equipment. I've only in the last year or so changed from a mixed amp and plug-in approach to now using the Fender ToneMaster Pro as my default bit of kit. And I have a Helix rack just there. Bought it and I've never actually used it, but I will keep it despite the Stadium coming out. So, excuse me. This is my guitar setup. What I'm predominantly using is a Mezza head there. You can see. Right. So the kind of tone I've dialed in pretty high gain. You can see there. 9 treble reasonably high, middle scooped, not intentionally, but there you go. Bass is really low, and because I'm using this guitar that's in drop G, this is as low as it goes. Don't generally need a lot of low end because the bass is going to complement it, and that thing will delivers bass for days. So presence wise, pretty sharp, but not too crispy, because with digital modelers and whatnot, you tend to get a bit more top end than you need. So the EQ, you can see again, the 750 is scooped, and on the last video I did, I showed that there was a particular frequency in the EQ that I pulled back. And because it created this kind of whistling, almost like a submarine boom boom kind of noise if you carefully listen to it, and I've scooped that out at source. And it is always best to dial your guitar tone in at source rather than mess around with it too much in post. So there's another frequency here, again with digital modelers and plugins. It's just the nature of the beast. You get aliasing, you get artifacts. It doesn't sound horrible on its own, but when you want it in a mix, it's going to start clashing with everything like your cymbals and your top end, your vocals. So I pull back 6.6K, just a nudge, which is a lot of when you're quite high up. There'll be a lot of fizziness, which hopefully this gets rid of. So, at open chords as well, you'll normally hear a bit more. So that's the head. I'll show you the cabs and I'll go through any of the pedals. So on the ToneMaster Pro, you can have 2 cabs. You can see at the top, let's go back, we've got a Mezza 4x12 there, and that the 4x12 Mega you can see is the Mezza, obviously, with V30s, so the vintage 30s, and I've got an SM7B, which is actually the same mic I'm speaking into now. So that's the first cab. The second one is the bottom there, which is the Friedman cab, and that has got vintage 30s again, you can see, and the same mic, I believe. Yeah, so same mic. Okay, but the top one, so you can see cab 1 is this one, is the top one, and cab 2 is the bottom one. Okay, so when you click on that, that one is highlighted there. So this is cab 1. Okay, and the blend of it is such that cab 1 is most of the sound. You see it's leaned over to 1. And cab 2, the Friedman, is where I'm getting a little bit more of my mid-punch from. And that's cab 2, sorry, is the purple one, slightly closer, but it's blended much further out, so it's more 1 and almost no 2, obviously, as you can see. I hope that's clear. So you can put both of them wherever you want and change them around and get the tone you want, but I've blended them to my liking. So again, back to the tone. So this is going to be a chuggy type thing again, and some occasional chords. So let's listen to the tone without the old... what are we talking there? That's a tube screamer, sorry. So that's what this would be like as it is. Okay, and then put that back on. So, bass on. See quality, so you're getting a lot of extra punch coming through there. So noise gate on at the start because I'm using a lot of gain. So if you take it off, it's possible you might get a bit of noise, but dial it in carefully. But noise gate just to make sure, and you can obviously raise or lower the threshold you want there. We don't want it too tight because when you do things like your bloomy chugs, you want that coming through. But if you have that too tight, you're just going to lose all that. Have a look. That's completely cut off, and let's dial it back a bit. So you're losing that. So what I want to do is dial it back so I get it. We're in control, but we just want to hear the bloom afterwards. Okay, good. Right, so there's a couple of other effects that I might use, such as a flanger for clean stuff or maybe some crazy lead stuff. I haven't done much lead work for a while, so I'm not going to try and show off, just haven't got it in me. But if you listen to the tone with a flanger, it's quite nice. And certainly for gent and thal and all those heavy metal subgenres, this can sound quite cool. So something like this. You get the idea. It's quite a nice tone there, but we'll turn that off. So that's the tone. Let's get recording. That's enough of that. So hopefully that was somewhat of interest, the tone that I've got going through. So listen to what we're doing. Let's just play along at this stage and see if we can get what we're after. Okay, so one of the dramas you can get with this sort of thing, I start at the top where, certainly for gent and thal, you want those. You put all this down here. You need to decide what octave you want to work in, or all of it. So I'm going to play through and decide whereabouts I want to play on it. There's benefits and whatever to both, but let's have a listen. I'm going to start on the low stuff, and I've got some sort of tappy thing going in my head. Let's just play that. Right, I'm going to have a go just to take, and if it's not good, I'm going to keep recording and keep going over it until we get what we want. So I'll just keep going and going until we get what we want. Shouldn't take long though, just a rough idea. Okay, something like that. I want to do that again though. So let's do that again. Let's get it neater, and let's do the right channel after that. So let's get that done. Oh, he says. Let's go. Right, we're going to keep going until we get it. That's what it was. So I've got my, you can see my loop, the section's not long enough, so it's just over recording in the wrong place again. Nobody's perfect. Let's just get this right. This is what, in reality, a million takes till you get it done. Okay, that's the right amount of time anyway, the right amount of time for that section. So let's just record again against that. Hopefully I can remember the same thing. Let's do it. Okay, I think I've accidentally played one semitone up on some of that, so it sounds a bit dissonant, which is pretty cool. Let's have a listen. Let's get the metronome for now. Let's have a listen to what we've done. Okay, that'll do. Rough and ready. Again, these are scratch tracks, and like a few other cool dudes on the net, you'll see that they'll just take these scratch tracks and then record and revisit later, and that's what we're going to do. So, section 2, let's have a listen. Okay, cool. That sounds something. Let's get that in. Let's quickly record that so we can get this one right. Yeah, you see, bugger that one out. Let's try again. Let's get that one done. Just switching between the hammer-ons and pull-offs and the notes that I'm after. Better. It's more like what I'm after. Okay, so next track, let's do that again, so we can remember. I believe we nailed that section, so let's have a quick listen from start slow stuff into that, see if it works. Okay, now we're going to go into our chugs. I can feel like a sub drop or something coming in after this last section. Let's see how this sounds. So I'll lead it into it. I don't need the metronome, but I'll lead into it. Okay, I think just generally open string, but again, we mentioned at the start, so the difference between a really tight chug when you stifle it versus just a slight difference on the neck, whereabouts you put your hand. You can do a complete more rhythmy stuff like. But I think I've got an idea. I think we'll just follow the kick drum and put in a few notes and see what fits. I'll keep going around until we get this one done, and then we'll be on bass. Okay, I think it sounds pretty cool. I think when we get the bass to it, that's going to absolutely smack. So let's just try that again. On the other track, nothing complex here, just chugs. Okay, let's have a listen to see how that sounds from the last section to this. Okay, we'll go from the last section, see if it all rocks in. We'll go, in fact, from the first section, rolling through it and see if it's any good. Yeah, I've got the vibe. It's good. Right, so we get the bass guitar. So, bass back to this lovely Dingwall, and it's already tuned in only a few minutes ago, so, you know, for the purposes of this, shouldn't be too much of an issue. Untwist, will you? Right, there we go. So, let's get it plugged in. So, we're currently on the guitar, and I've done this a few times accidentally, where you pick up... when you pick up your bass guitar and you plug it in, and you're still using the same preset. So have a listen to this. Actually, it sounds pretty gnarly, but it's lacking a lot of that low end that you want from a bass guitar. So let's get back to the start, and let's get another track armed. It's going to be our bass guitar. Let's go back to the Tone Master Pro, and let's be sensible, somewhat. So we're using a rhythm tone there. So what I want to do, I've got two bass patches. This is one that's quite bass heavy, so so if we're doing our hammer-on bits. So whilst I can hear it, don't know it's going to cut through the mix because it's in G standard. I think we're going to need a bit more. So I've got another one that's called Bass Filth, and that's this one. So listen. So when we go to our Chugs. I think it's got a lot more presence, buddy, than the other one. So let me quickly take you through this preset. So this might look similar, and for good reason, because it is. What I've got there is the Mezza head. Again, pretty much the same settings. I've scooped the 750 because no matter what instrument you're playing, certainly in the digital realm, you've got that weird tone that I was talking about, and I don't want. The 6K I've left alone because, well, it's down a little bit, not as much as the guitar, because it is a low-range instrument. It shouldn't really be poking through there anyway. Middle's down, treble's down a bit, gain's nearly dime still, presence quite high, and master there. So I'll go into why I'm still using the same head in a minute. So this is a guitar head, actually. So I've got a stomp box on again, so if you listen to the tone without it, pretty disgusting. With it on, you can see it's tamed the low end. It's not farting out anymore. I'm going to take it off. This sounds a bit unclear and untamed. So what I've done here, I've turned this guitar one. Point to note is the bass was on 1 on the guitar, and this is on 5 and a bit. So obviously with the bass guitar, you want loads of bass. So we've got 2 cabs in series here rather than parallel. I've got this Mezza cab, which is a 4x12 vintage 30s again, same mic, really tight and close. And I've got another one. So let me bypass this first one. So this is a tone, almost a guitar tone again. It's pretty gnarly, but it's a bass guitar, remember. We've got the guitar done, so let's turn this back on. Okay, and that's adding a ton of low end. The EQ have not done anything with this one, but that is our bass guitar tone. Again, right, so let's get into recording. We'll get that loop active again that we need, so let's not make that same mistake we did with the guitar. So got the loop active. I'm going to put the pre-roll on, or the pre-count. Yep, good, we're there. don't really need the metronome because we've got drums. So let's have a listen to what we were doing again and make sure I can remember to play this on the guitar. So point to note, last time I had the bass guitar in G, and the electric was in G flat, and it was somewhat difficult to transpose the parts between one to the other. So what I'm doing now is both are in the same tuning really. I've tuned the bass guitar like the electric guitar, so I should be able to follow it much more easily, which is good for me, good for you. Let's have a listen. Right, what I'm noticing on my bass guitar tone is my noise gate is on way too high. I was attempting to do some tapping, and it was cutting it out. Okay, it's still a bit tight actually. Let's dial that back a bit. Right, let's go back to what we were doing. So, where are we at? Let's get back on track. So we know roughly where we're at tone wise and all the rest of it. Let's just get something down. Okay, let's have a listen to how that sounds, and let's go to the next section. Okay, let's hear that with the drums so you can hear what's going on. Okay, let's get the bit for section 2 done. I'll tweak the bass in a bit because it's not poking through the mix as much at the minute, but I just want to get this through or this will be a never-ending video. So, section 2. Okay, that's the note that I wanted to find. Let's get that one done. Okay, so because we are starting after the start, we're going to pre-roll into it, so I'm going to hear basically a bit of the song before I move into it, rather than going straight after the metronome. Yeah, I don't really think that requires much more. I think that was good enough. Let's have a listen to that with the drums, just so we can hear it poking. He says, let's do that without the mech, that's going to be annoying. So what I want to do is, whilst I think I've nailed it, nailed it's a strong word, isn't it? It's certainly not nailed. We've got it, we've got the rough idea down. Where's my damn plectrum? There it is. What I'm going to do is re-record it again, but I'm going to put more attention on the hammer-ons and pull-offs. It's a bass guitar and you've really got to dig in, but it's recording, that's what it's all about. I just can't hear them enough. Let's try it again. happy with that. So let's listen to that again quickly in isolation. I'm going to knock the drums back a little bit. I think they're a bit... Now we're getting stuff together. They're quite high in the mix. Right, let's go for that last section. And we had some Chugs, didn't we? So let's have a listen. Okay, I think this one will be fun to play along to just the drums, because then we'll really hear what's going on, because I'll probably do some post-editing on the track afterwards. But let's I don't want to arm the drums, I want to arm the electric guitar, but I want to hear the drums. So let's listen to this. Again, we've got the 2 octaves. I'm going to go for this note rather than... It's quite muddy up here. So quick record that and then we're done. Let's have a listen. Okay, that is good enough for government work, as they say. Let's have a listen. Let's go through that. Okay, let's have a quick listen from the start, and I think we're done. And that is another session we've done. What I do on the end here on the pull is I'm going to remove any unused files to save any clutter building up. You can see, as we've done many takes, a lot of stuff we don't need building up there, and it can just remove the load from your computer and just prevent you from blocking up your storage with stuff you don't need. So let's have a listen from the start and see what we think. Okay, so I think we've got the track down. I think all we need after this is a bit of mixing and getting the levels right, but I think that's a video for another session. So, quick listen to some of the raw guitar tones we've done. So we've got this dual track, so this is... In fact, let's go for this session. This section's got a bit of chunk in it. So this is what we've got with 1 track pan fully left. Got the second one in. Now we're at the bass. Okay, I hope this one's been interesting, and hopefully all the sound and all the stuff's working from the technical issues I had last time. But yeah, it's been fun, and I'll throw in another one next week on something different. But, you know, I hope that everyone enjoyed that, and I did, and it maybe be another one for the EP, the album, or whatever, but who knows. Let's have a look. Maybe between now and next time, it might be a full track. Okay, again, thanks for watching, and cheers. See you next time.